Wednesday. Welcome to Amud Yomi Shiur and Good Chodesh. Mishenichnas Odo Marbin Besimcha, Simcha Satoire, the Torah and the elections. Okay, but first we have the Amud. Today's Amud. Welcome to the Amud Yomi Shiur. Welcome to people on Torah Anytime and on our YouTube channel. We are in Daf. Which Daf are we on? Tell me, everybody. Nun. No, Mem. No, already Nun. Nun. Aleph. Nun Beis. Yeah. Nun Beis Amud Aleph. Just open the Gemara. Yes, let's go. The Shiurs for the Atzlocha of everybody, the Nishmas everybody, and Rafus everybody in the world. Ma'aseh b'chamis shnoshim Omar Rav. We saw in the Mishnah, when the two dots a little bit above the middle of the page. Ma'aseh b'chamis shnoshim. A story about 5 women. What was the story of the 5 women? There was a person, a man, which decided to do something interesting. What did he do? He wanted to be mekadesh 5 women, or some say it was one of 5 women. Imagine yourself, these 5 women standing there, and the man is giving them a basket full of figs to be mekadesh one of them and all 5, meaning one was a representative of all the other 4. She worked for herself and for the other 4 in order to receive Kiddushin. And now the problem was that 2 of them were sisters. 2 of the 5 were sisters. Obviously, Kiddushin don't apply to 2 sisters, right? So what did we say in the Mishnah? 3 are mekudeshes, minus 2 sisters are not mekudeshes. Now, these figs, what were they? They were figs of Shemitah, but the field belonged to that women. Figs of Shemitah. Shemitah always a problem. We know Shemitah is always an issue. Even if you live here for a long time, there's always new questions about Shemitah. So that's one of those questions. So he decided to be mekadesh the women with what? Figs of Shemitah. And let's see what the Gemara has to say about that. There are 4 things that we can learn from this Mishnah, 4 halachos. And Rav held in his hand, Rav was very secure, very sure of himself, that 3 out of the 4 things that you learn from the Mishnah, he knows well. The 4th one, he has a question about. And we're going to go one by one, Be'ezus Hashem. Shma mino, 1 halacha you learn from here. A mekadesh b'peil shvis mekudeshes. The one who is mekadesh, a woman with the fruit of shvis mekudeshes, what does it mean? Although Shemitah, you're not supposed to, what are you not supposed to do with Shemitah? Not supposed to use it to smear it, to sell it, v'chule, etc., etc. Maybe you can't be mekadesh. Maybe it's b'chlal not yours. Maybe you can't be mekadesh with it. Kamash Malan, you can't be mekadesh. And the other question is, maybe it's like a transaction. You're not allowed to sell Shemitah fruit. So maybe when you give the Shemitah fruit to the woman, and then she bought it, what does she do? Makne herself to you. That's a transaction. Kiddushin is a transaction. How come that's allowed? So really, I'm asking, how come it's allowed? Kamash Malan, it's allowed. Why? Why is it allowed? Says Tosfos, you know why? It's b'di'evid, en chinami. Tosfos says at the end of the Bermaschan Mekadesh B'Peiros that b'di'evid it works. It's not a good thing to do. If you chose Peres Shemitah to be Mekadesh a woman, you took some figs, you took some pomegranate, you took some whatever of Shemitah, Mekadesh a woman, the rabbi should really ask in advance, is it Shemitah? The Chatchila, no. But the evidence, if you did it, it's okay, because the sale took place. That's answer. That's halacha number 1 we learn from the Mishnah. Now, v'shmamino, the other halacha we learn, kid shebegezel eina mikudeshes. If a person stole something from someone and then mekadesh with that item, with the stolen item, the woman is not mekudeshes. The woman is not mekudeshes. Afilu begezel dida, even with her own gezela, meaning, as we're going to elaborate on later, we'll explain later why not. But there's a half a minute to say, if a person steals from a woman and then he gives it back to her as her Kiddushin item, it works. Making faces. We saw it in Daf Yud Gimel. We'll see it later. That's going to be, by the way, the main discussion today. That'll be the main discussion about, mekadeshing with stolen goods, stolen foods, stolen money. I just want to blur the background. Okay, so that is one thing we learn here. Okay, now, much better. Now, what's the other thing? Afil begezel dido. even with her own gazela, even if you stole from her, again, you don't remember the svara we said? Maybe if you stole and then you mekadesh, she's moichel. She wants to be married. You stole in order to give. You love me, you want me, you want to marry me. Great, I don't care that you were goizel. Mimai. Well, how do you know from our Mishnah that you cannot be mekadesh with gezel? Because it says midiktani Baruch Hashem. What does it say? Shaloim hoiso veshel shvius hoiso. It was theirs, but it was shvius, and therefore taima the shvius the hefkeru. It's only because it was shvius, which means it was hefker, because shvius everybody and anybody can partake and take from the field. The shar shnei shavua. But if it was something if it took place, had the same story taken place any other year of the Shemitah cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then it wouldn't have worked. Yeah, the Mishnah stresses that. Why? Why not? To tell me that if it belongs to the woman, you stole from her, the Kiddushin doesn't work. So that is the second thing. Number 3, here it comes. The Shma Mina, ish nasa shliach lechaverta, or here at a big party last night. I partied and I looked in the Rosh. Surprise, surprise, there is a world outside the Ritva. The Rosh is the Rishon that explains this very, very clearly. What does the Gemara say? A woman becomes a shaliach to her friend, to her chaverte, to her fellow woman, even if she herself becomes her tzora. What does that mean? It means as follows. I'm just translating now. We have 5 women here, okay? Yeah, okay, so Rivka, Rachel, Leah, and of course, Prince Abela, our famous one. So Sarah is the one that represents the group. See, she's a class rep. Yeah, like in Gates, right? She's the rep, right? Represents the whole class, the whole group of 5 women. What happens at the same time? She receives the basket from the husband, who was a basket case himself. She receives the basket from him, and she becomes mekudeshes, and in the very same second, all 4 also become mekudeshes, and she is their shlicha. We said actually at the beginning of the parak that a woman may send a female or male shliach, a messenger, a proxy, call it whatever you want, yeah, in order to receive the kiddushin. Corona, war, yeah, it can happen. Yeah, she's stuck in I don't know where's she stuck? Gateshead. She's stuck in Gateshead, and the chosen is in Gibraltar. So what does she do? She sends a messenger which manages to fly, and she says, "Be mekabel mekidushin from a chosen in Gibraltar." That's absolutely legitimate. So what's the chiddush over here? The chiddush is that a woman can become a shliach for her friend, even though at the same time of kiddushin, she's actually working against her own interest, because women usually do not like co-wives. Anybody wants to come home and say, "Darling, would you like to have a co-wife?" I think the answer will be unanimous. If she let you through the door, yeah, you'll have 0 wife if you even suggest that. No 1, you'll have 0, right? No. So people don't like co-wives. Now this is all very nice and fun and interesting, but the Rosh is asking, what's the chiddush? What do you mean? If at the end of the day, what do you mean it's against her interest? If the woman, meaning if Rivka, Rochen, and Leah told Sarah, "Be our shlicha," and she said, "Okay, I'll be your shlicha," then of course it works, right? Obviously, people do things not against their will. Something that may not work right with her psyche, but if she says, "Yes, I'm becoming a shlich," obviously work. What's a chiddush? What do you want to tell me? That she accepted the figs without saying anything, no interactions between her and the other ladies? Then of course she's not a shliach, right? Because nobody appointed her to be a shliach, right? So the Rosh is befuddled and he's asking, what on earth is going on over here? This is already after Rashi and Tosfos, by the way. I've been there, yeah? Actually, Tosfos is similar to the Rosh, but we leave that alone first. Says the Rosh, B'Shem Rabbi Yitzchak, not Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, B'Shem Rabbi Yitzchak says the follows. It says, like, no, usually when you do something quietly, without saying anything, we have to figure out what's behind your poker face. What are you really saying over here without words? The story was as follows. Rivka, Rochel, and Prinza told Sarah, please be a shliach to be mekabel the figs from Mr. Good Guy, yeah, from the Mekadesh, and what? And she didn't say anything. She accepted it without saying anything. Usually in halacha, when a person acts without objecting, without negating, then we say that it works. Baruch Hashem, in normal Haredi Orthodox weddings, as of now, I mean, there are some exceptions. The Kala doesn't do anything, right? She accepts it. She doesn't say, "Yes, I do," right? She said, yes, I'll be yours forever and ever. Usually that's like a month, but they're going, yeah. It doesn't go like that. Yeah, she does. Why? Well, she stands there. She seems to be okay. She accepts what he does. We assume that she wants, right? That's the way it works. Oh, so if Sarah quietly accepted the figs from who? From the man, after they made their shlicha, then it should be okay. She's going along with emotions. We assume she wants that. Oh, and now comes the psychology effect. And we say, since she didn't say yes, and normally speaking, a woman usually does not like to be the shlicha of other women to, the Rosh says, does she really want four tzaras with her at her wedding? That's a strong havamina to say that we don't say shtika koido. We don't say that silence is silent consent. Hamash malan that we do. That's a chiddush. It's a middle of the road case. If she says yes, yes, girls, I'll be everyone's shlicha. There's no chiddush. If nobody selected her to be shlicha, of course it doesn't work. The middle of the road case of her being quiet, and it seems to be, is she really interested because she's getting other tzoras, four of them or even one, to the club together with her? What kind of marriage is that? Kamash malan, as long as she'd not object, would follow the regular rule of Kiddushin, and a quiet kala or a quiet shliach means a big yes and a tick in the box. That's what he says. I want to just add one more interesting thing that I saw in the Shulchan Aruch, one of the Noise Kelim. Something very interesting. He says, which woman cannot accept Kiddushin for another woman? A married woman who's already married to the man cannot be the shlicha of a strange woman, of another woman, to accept Kiddushin from her husband, right? Why? Not because of any psychology, because there are exceptions to this rule, but in most cases we say, Masha konsa isha kona baila. A woman, unless there are special conditions which exist, a woman's property is usually belonging to her husband. So Mimela, you can't say that the husband gave Kiddushin to his own wife, to be shlicha to another woman, to a strange one, because giving the money to his own wife, Kilu stayed in his own domain. He didn't leave his own loop, like we saw many weeks ago about the evident order. So Mimela, that wouldn't work as an exception. One more piece of news from Shulchan Aruch. Remember I told you the case we learned in Yeshiva? It's a Mefurish Ramah in Shulchan Aruch. He says, what happens if a guy is sitting by someone's table and the balabais gave him something to eat, chicken, cholent, I don't know. He wasn't Shabbos, just to make, because Shabbos he can't do Kiddushin, yeah? He was, I don't know, select some kind of other, just hosting him, yeah? And he took the piece of chicken or whatever, the schnitzel, and he gave it to his beloved as Kiddushin. There are more paskins that he works. Other Rishonim says it only works misofek. It's a question. There are more paskins that she is mekudeshes. I'm saying this case is actually in Shulchan Aruch, but that's not so kosher to us. I'm just okay. So now 1 second. So three, I saw you. Now 3 out of 4 cases we learn from the Mishnah. Again, what do we learn? You can be mekadesh with shmita. B, you cannot be mekadesh with gezel. 3, a woman may become a shlicha to another woman even though it works against her own self-interest because she's inviting a tzor to her house. Now we're missing number 4, which is the iffy one, the questionable one. But before that, of course, we have Ellen Corner. Yeah. Okay. Hi there. Yes. Let's continue. Now, the idach. What's the 4th item, which we're not so sure about? Mahi. Oh, Kiddushin Shen Misurin Labia. Oh, what's Kiddushin Shen Misurin Labia, my friends? What did we learn in the Mishnah regarding Kiddushin Shen Misurin Labia? There were 2 ways to learn the Mishnah. Let's refresh our memories. Kiddushin Shen Misurin Labia means a person approached. No, he did not approach 2 sisters and told both of them, "Hare atem mekudeshes," plural. He says to 2 sisters, one of you is mekudeshesly, right? One of you is mekudesh to me. I spoke to a Choshev Talmid Chochem, Rav Chazan over here, and he proved to me, right, that I wasn't sure about it. If you noticed, that even the person himself did not decide who is a kala. Even himself doesn't know. So therefore, he cannot touch any of them because even he doesn't know. Okay, fine, interesting that this is Kiddushin. The Achronim are busy with that. How could that be Kiddushin B'chlal? You don't know what you're talking about. Abai says that's Kiddushin, but therefore you have to give a get because you can't approach any of them. You can't continue. You have to give a get. Rava said no. Rava is a posuk. Rava says mapitom. If you cannot be with a woman, then what? It's not Kiddushin. Kiddushin is in order to have children, to have stable relationship, intimacy. And therefore, that's not Kiddushin. Now, what did the Mishnah tell us? Kiddushin Shen Misurin Labia, meaning there are 2 ways to read the Mishnah. One way of reading the Mishnah was that if the man told the 5 women all of your mekudeshes to me, including the two women, the two sisters. Thank you. The two sisters. He said both of you should be mekudeshes. That doesn't work. Mashma, 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 mashma. That if he told one of them, one of the two sisters, be mekudeshes to me, or one of the five, including two sisters, one of you should be mekudeshes to me, then it does work. Like Abaye. Oh, you see, Abaye is right. So says the Gemara, oh, you know what's the fourth halacha we learned from a Mishnah? Kiddushin shen misuon labia. We learn like Abaye, Kiddushin shen misuon labia are really called Kiddushin when you approach your two sisters together. When you approach your two sisters together, then what? What do we say? No, no Kiddushin. Mashma one of the two. It's Kiddushin and they need to get. Frag the Gemara, v'nichsheva. So why doesn't Rav count that in his list? Why is that fourth item, ifish mifi question? What's the problem? What's the story? You're learning halachas from the Mishnah, so mention all four out loud. Answers the Gemara, mishum de mesapka le kabai kerove. Ay. Rav had a question. He wasn't sure if to paskin like kabaya or like Rava. How can Rava fit into the Mishnah? Very well, because Rava can say that what's the story? Remember, we can say that he lechatchila didn't approach all five and said all of your mekudeshes to me. Rava says that the Mishnah is telling you one. He lechatchila said, here's the basket full of whatever figs of shmita, all very nice. And what? And one of you five should be mekudeshes to me. I don't even know which one. I'm not saying which one. Whatever. And then it doesn't work. That's exactly like Rava. Kiddushin shen misuon labia. I mekadesh one of the two, one of the few, and it doesn't work like Rava. And because Rav wasn't sure whether Rava or Abaye are right, therefore Rav said, listen, I know, so why is it counted? I know you should learn something regarding the issue of Kiddushin Shen Misuon Labia, but I don't know if the Mishnah is teaching me like Abaye or like Rava. But I know that there is something you can learn from the Mishnah one way or the other. The Sheikh in the first three halachas are clear cut one way. Him asked the question that we said halachas like Abaye. Question in Talmudic history. Yeah, we're moving now to Hebrew. Yeah, Chas v'Shalom. Yeah, I'm asking you. The halacha said, halacha al kagam. It's one of the 6 cases in which Abaye is halacha like Abaye. Why is Rav deliberating and debating? Gave you a hint. Talmudic history, the history, generations. I'm heading my tea, proper tea today. 50% British. Yeah, well, it's British, you know. This tea is British from England.
With milk?
Fruit.
One of the sisters, not either one of you. One of the
Because no, I'm sorry. No, that was my question. I'm sorry. No, because Rav was the first Amoira, my friends. Rav was the first Amoira, the first Jewish Amoira. The first Amoira was Rav in history, and the halacha was obviously Paskin much later. That's why. Mistome, that's the answer. Yeah. We decided the Al Kagam when the Gemara was decided. Mashenk and Rav was a Rishon. Yeah, it was an early Amoira. In his time, it wasn't yet decided. The Choyer, that's Pshat. Yeah, that's, I think Pshat. I haven't seen it anywhere. Okay, that's. I asked the technical question, not in Lomdus. Maybe what you said was right, but it wasn't. Yeah. Ki Salik Rab Zera. When Rab Zera went up to Eretz Yisrael, when Rab Zera made Aliyah, like all of you, Ki Salik Rab Zera Omro Lahashmaitze Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Rab Zera said this Shmua, that Sugya, to Rabbi Yochanan. Which Sugya exactly out of the 4? The Sugya of mekadesh with stolen goods, And what did Rav say? That it ain't working. It doesn't work to be mekadesh with something stolen. Amar le, Rabbi Yochanan responded to Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Yochanan obviously lived in Eretz Yisrael. It was the Amor of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan is hearing the news from Bovel that this is what Rav said. He cannot be mekadesh a woman with a stolen item. Amar le, miyom Rav hachi. Is that what Rav said? Is that what Rav said? So such a question, if that's what Rav said, can be interpreted in many ways. Yeah, tone of voice. The Gemara understood at the beginning that Rabbi Yochanan asked this rhetorical question disapprovingly. Is that what Rav said? In other words, does Rav really think that you cannot be mekadesh with a stolen item? Frekt the Gemara on Rabbi Yochanan. Didn't Rabbi Yochanan himself say that? Rabbi Yochanan himself said that you can't be mekadesh with something stolen. Look, I'm going to show it to you. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Gozal veloni siashu abaylim. A person, it's a famous Gemara, but become a few places. A person stole an item, and the bailim were not yet mityaesh. The person who stole it before Yush, is he now the owner? Is the Gazlan the owner? No. And that's not even a Chiddush. He's not an owner. Nobody says he's an owner before Yush. After Yush is the Machloikes, and Yush and Shinei Rashus, for sure is the owner. He has to give just money, not the item. That's what became for you in one sentence. So now the person was Goizel. Mr. Gazlan holds the item. The other person is looking for it frantically. Who? The victim is looking and is absolutely adamant to find it. He's calling the police and looking all over. So the Bailim was Misyash. Shneim enim echolim lehakdish. The question is, the Gazlan is a very frum guy. The Gazlan is a very religious guy. You know what he wants to do? He wants to be makdish to Beis Hamikdash, the stolen item. Tzaddik, yeah? He wants to be makdish, the stolen item to Beis Hamikdash. He can't. Now, what about the owner? He cannot be makdish it either. Although he's the legal owner, the victim can't be makdish it either. Why can neither of them be makdish? Oh, in other words, the owner, the ganav, it's not his. Says Tosfos, that's not the chiddush. You know the chiddush is that's a chiddush. Although the owner is the legal owner 100%, right? But because it was stolen from him, that item is now, so to speak, I don't like to mention the example, but in captivity. In other words, he's whatever he stole, the bike, I don't know, whatever he stole is now not in his reshus, not in his domain, not in his authority. He doesn't really have, authority, practical authority over it, right? It's stolen. It's not within his reach, not under his control. Therefore, he can't be makdish. And that's a chiddush. Where do we learn it from? We learn it from the pasuk, I think the end of Vayikra, the ish ki yakdish es beisoy. Famous Gemara, ma beisoy bilshusoy, of kol bilshusoy. Just like your house, my home is my castle, right? My home is my castle, and therefore what? The home is where you are the balabais. So too, only things or items or whatever that are really yours and are under your practical authority and control, only them you can be makdish. And therefore, as you very nicely said, Ellen, there's a lot of comparisons. Ellen said something very nice a few days ago, and that is Kiddushin and Korban and Hekdesh, and it's all connected. And therefore, just like you can't be makdish something that is not yours, you can't be mekadesh a woman with something that's not yours. So obviously, the Gazlan that stole the item and the person wasn't yet Messiah, he cannot be mekadesh a woman. So Rabbi Yochanan agrees to Rav. So why is Rabbi Yochanan asking? Is that what Rav said? Rabbi Yochanan himself agrees to that. Answers the Gemara, you misunderstood Rabbi Yochanan. You misinterpreted Rabbi Yochanan's statement. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said. Baruch Hashem, mi Omar Rav Kavosi. He was positively surprised. Oh wow, did Rav say like me? I'm so happy. I'm so honored. I'm so flattered that what? Rav and I said the same thing. Rabbi Yochanan was happy. Was mechaven to the das of Rav. Rav, they're the same generation. Yeah, Rav Tanopolig, Rabbi Yochanan, they're both post Anoim. Meisivi. Now comes a question about mekadesh with a stolen item. Kidsha begezel bechamas ubegneva. That's from Daf Yud Gimel. A person who's mekadesh a woman with gezel. Gezel is outright theft, rob in your face. Like a guy comes chas v'shalom with a knife and mamish takes it from you, or without a knife, doesn't care, and he's goizel. Hamas is what? We really should say Hamas. Hamas. I love it how they said Hamas. Hamas. Yeah. So what's Hamas? Well, we know what they are. Yeah. Hamas. What does Hamas really mean? No, maybe Hamas is very, very violent, but the original Hamas from the Mabul, from the times of the Mabul, is what? Hamas. Extortion, it's called extortion. That's word in English. It's a rather new word for me. Right. Yeah, when you pay for something and you force the thing out of the owner. Yeah, you force him to sell. Extortion. Yeah, it's a forced sale. That's Hamas. But Gneva is under the radar. Gneva, as opposed to Gzela, you come in the middle of the night and elegantly, without anybody noticing, you take it from wherever. That's Gneva. So a person was any of these nice options. Yeah, Gezel Hamas B'Gneva, or Shechot of Sela Miyodo, or soon we're going to see what does mean or, Shechot of Sela Miyodo, he stole, he snatched a Sela, an item. No, not an item, it's a coin. He snatched a coin from her, for the woman, the Kidsha, which means it was her own money that he stole, and then he was mekadesh her. Mekudeshes. So what does it say? You were mekadesh a woman with an item. The first three cases, it doesn't say that it was from her, right? He stole from Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, extorted, he stole, he robbed, whatever, hijacked, whatever. He took from someone else illegally, and it says that she's mekudeshes, and that's against Rabbi Yochanan, against Rav, against everybody. Seems like it can be mekadesh with something that's stolen. And says the Gemara, Hossam begezel dido. No, over there we talk about if it was stolen from her. By the way, it doesn't help us. As the Gemara is going to ask soon, so what if it's her own? Rav himself, what did Rav himself talk about? What's the case of our Mishnah? That he stole from them. Unless it was Shemitah, it was a theft from the mekudeshes. And still we say it doesn't work. So we'll leave that question aside. But right now we're building slowly the case. If it's her gzela, then it's okay. Frag the Gemara, how can you say that? Hamidiktani Seifa, the fourth case was what? Oi! What does oi mean in English? Or, O-R. Oi shechot of sel mishala, right? It says either he stole or extorted or robbed or whatever, or he took it from her. Michlal, that is, what's Michlal? That is to say, we can derive from here the Reisha begezel the Alma askinan. You see that the Reisha talks about the first three cases are a guy who stole from the Alma, from other people, not from her. He stole from other people. And says the Gemara, no. You misinterpreted the Memra. Hirushika mefarish. The fourth case is an explanation of the first three. Kidsha begezel bechamas begneva. A person stole with any of those three illegal transactions, so to speak, those kinds of theft. Ketzad, how is that? Kigoin shechot of selam yodav v'kitcha boy. It's not oi. You got the version wrong. It is, how is that? He stole the stella from her hand. It was mekudeshes. Okay, so what are we saying now? We're turning the page and we're saying that because the gzela is hers, from some odd reason, we don't know why, if the stolen item was stolen from the woman herself, then we say that what? Then mekadesh her back with what you originally stole from her. That's fine. Before we even get to the svara, but Lamaisa, you're not even beginning to answer my question. Tamas Nisin, it's the question. Tamas Nisin, the Gezel Dido. In our own Mishnah, it was also her stolen item. Who did he take the figs from? From them, from the women. The Kama Rav and the mekudeshes. And yet Rav says that she's not mekudeshes. So why are you helping me? How are you helping me by making nukimta that if it's her gzela, then it's all fine? No, Rav said even her own thing is not, is that kind of gzela doesn't work either. Answers the Gemara, lo kasha. Oh. And that's the answer to all questions. That solves all problems on earth. I wish, yeah. As we said in Daf Yud Gimel, depends if she's prepared or not, which means shadich, shiduchim. If there was a prearrangement and what we'd call in modern language, he proposed to her and she's expecting him to be mekadesh her. She's expecting, and at some point, Kiddushin will come. That's the next step after the final date, yeah. Then, after Shidduch comes what? Kiddushin. So the fact is she stood in the market, like in Daf Yud Gimel, she was holding there, the Gemara says, I think it was the case of the Varshachi, there was a girl who was standing in the market, yeah, and she was selling Varshachi, pieces of silk, like silk scarves, and he took one of the silk scarves, right? And it was mekadesh, snatched it from her and mekadesh her back with it. So then we said depends. If there was shidduch before, she's expecting it. So we assume that she's moichel, the theft, knowing, I get his joke, he's trying to be humoristic, ran out of cash, I don't know. For whichever reason, I realize it's part of a master plan which I'm prepared for, and therefore I'm moichel the theft, knowing that he will be mekadesh me, and she accepted it gladly. She doesn't mind that he was geisel. That's his way to be mekadesh her. But shadich. In our case over here, there was no shidduch before. In other words, when Rav said conceptually that you cannot be mekadesh a woman even with her own stolen item, he meant there's no shidduch. Well, there's no shidduch before. You come, who are you, Bichlal? Even if she knows him, who says I want to marry you? And you're snatching from me? Mechutzat, you mekadesh me? Oh no, what are you talking about? Who's asking you to do that? I'm not, is there a candid camera anywhere? Like, what's the... what are you talking about? And therefore, there's no haskama, no mechila, and therefore, there's no kiddushin. Story time. Third line from the top of Nun Beis Amud Beis. There was a woman. They have a kamasha. I don't know why this is relevant. I didn't see anything. I'm sure there is relevance, but the Gemara is telling us an interesting detail. Aitza, there was a woman there was a woman who was washing her feet in a like a bowl of water. Yeah, like a kli. Meshikla is a small kli. It's mentioned in Shabbos also. Yeah, it's a small kli, small vessel full of water, and her feet was inside to wash her feet. Also, Gavra came a man. Chataf zuzi michavri. He snatched a zuz. Yeah, a zuz is less than a stela. He snatched a zuz from his friend, v'shadalo, and he threw it at her. He snatched from his friend the coin, threw it at her, to her, towards her. Amar lo, mekadesh li, will be mekadesh me, or mekudeshes li is a statement. Arat mekudeshes li, very spontaneous guy. Very romantic. He snatches from me. No, he's the kind of guy who likes to be quick and dramatic. Maybe he thinks that will do it to her. Yeah, on the white horse. Yeah, mekadesh li. Yeah, in other words, he snatched it from his friend, threw it at her, and says arat mekudeshes li. The question is if those Kiddushin really apply or don't they apply. Is it a valid Kiddushin or not? Also, Gabal Kamei the Rova. That man, the Mekadesh, at some point came to Rova not being sure that the Kiddushin is good Kiddushin. He realized that the Kiddushin is a question. So he asked Rava, no, is this called Kiddushin? Omar says Rava. Rava's answer was one big no. Yeah, Omar says Rava. Leis the Chash Lohodo of Shimon. Let me explain everything. I'm just translating first to English to the best of my ability. Says Rav, nobody is choishish, nobody is even concerned, for the opinion of Rabbi Shimon that says that if a person stole nothing of gzela, outright in your face gzela, open theft, overt theft, nobody thinks that if you do that, the balim is automatically miyuash. Although Rabbi Shimon did say it, we don't hold that way. Let me explain. The Gemara in the comment, Daf Kuf Yudaled, brings machlokes of Shimon and Chachomim. And that's a very interesting machlokes, as usual, by the Heilige Chazal, but human psychology. We all know, as we just said in the previous Amud, that if a person steals something and the balim was not yet mi'ash, it does not belong to the Gazlan at all, right? He's Mekayim Shivas Exela Shogozal. When he gives it back, can be Mekadesh, Makdish, nothing. So here, if he snatched it from his friend a second ago, the friend sees everything happening. He sees the coin, he sees the woman washing her feet, he sees him throwing. He's not miyash. He's going to take him to the police, to the Beis Din right away. What? Chotav is gzela, open gzela. Right, it's an open gzela. No. It wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. No. It was all open. It was gzela. Interesting. No, it wasn't. Well, no. The answer is no. Nothing was rained. That's besides the point with the woman. That's not the issue now. Maybe that's not even the issue with that. Interesting point, but let's first get to the facts over here. That guy is Pashta Gazlan, and the other guy was the Chor, not Miyash. So what's even the question? Yeah, there was no Yush. Before Yush, you can't be Mekadesh, can't do anything. The issue is as follows. There is an opinion, there's Chachami versus Shimon, a person who either was a victim of Gzela, or, and that's two very, very different sides here, the two sides of the coin, either Gzela, victim of Gzela, or victim of Gneva. Do we assume that at some point the person is Miyash, even if we did not hear that he's Miyash? Which means, let's say a person, let's start Dafka with the other opinion, not Reb Shimon. Chachamim say, if a person, let's say, had an item stolen from him, very hard to find the Ganav. Work with Israeli police. Good luck, yeah. In other words, something was stolen from his house, from his jacket in Koilel, from his desk at work, yeah. You may try and find the Ganav, but it's very, very hard because the Ganav will never reveal. The Ganav is a coward, right? The Ganav is a pachdan. He doesn't do it openly, right? But it's very hard to find the Ganav. Some people are diehards and would dafka look for the justice, and some people would give up very quickly. Say Chachomim, yeah, that Stam Gneva, I'm not going to the details now because honestly I don't remember them, but at some point we say, I'm not sure how long after the Gneva, Mistama, the person was miyash already, right? The person is not going to look for the Ganav forever and ever. The police closed the file very quickly today. And what? Mistama, and therefore what? Stam Gneva, we can assume sooner or later there was Yush with all the nafkaminas, maybe for Kiddushin. But Gzela, no. I know who the Gazlan is. The Gazlan is the guy who comes to you unmasked and unabashed and not ashamed. He's the town's sheriff. Yeah, he doesn't care. He snatches it from you, and he's the law. You can't do anything against him, right? So now, wait a second. Chachamim say, I'll be courageous. I know who he is, and I'll face him, right? But the Ganev, I'm miyash. But the Gazlan, I know who he is. I'm not miyash. Rabbi Shimon says just the opposite. Rabbi Shimon says no. Buy a Ganev. You're going to look for the Ganev. He's a scaredy guy. I'm going to look for him, and I'll find who he is: a coworker, a neighbor, another guy, in shul. But Sheinkin a Gazlan, here we come to the pinnacle of the whole thing. A Gazlan, says Rabbi Shimon, is Yush Bailim. Such a guy who has no shame to steal from me. Some is connected to the police, connected to the mayor, connected to everyone, he's just a thug, he's a criminal. Go argue with him. What can you do? And therefore, says Rabbi Shimon, Stam Gzela is Yush Bailim. However, here comes, that's the case over here. Now we understand the Havamina. Says the guy to Hove, I'm a Gazlan. Hi, my name is Gazlan. I snatched it from the guy, who stood there open mouthed. I was mekadesh, that nice lady washing her feet, right? And now maybe he was miyash. Let's assume he was miyash, and the Kiddushin is good Kiddushin, beautiful way to start a Jewish home. Lamaisa, right? Lamaisa was miyash. Says Rove, no. Says Rove, nishtazoi. No, says Rove. Nobody is even choishesh to Rab Shimon that stam gzela, unless known otherwise. We don't say that if a person was a victim of gzela, he's right away miyash. By the way, did you notice? Nobody says that it's good, valid Kiddushin. The question is, are we choishesh? Yeah, that's a word. In other words, we know that a Gazlan can't be mekadesh with other people's money. Maybe we should be choishesh. Maybe we should be concerned that maybe it's Eshetish. I'm not saying she's going to live with him now, but maybe at least give her a get to be on the extra safe side. To be on the safe side, maybe give her a get, because maybe really it's called his money. Why is it called his money? Because maybe we should be concerned. Maybe Rab Shimon is right, and maybe the guy, the victim, was in some corner in his heart, miyuash. How can you start dealing with this thug? Kamashman, we're not concerned for Rab Shimon's opinion, and we don't say that, and the woman doesn't need to get it. Arisa, another story. There was an aris. Arisa, what's an aris? It's a sharecropper. Arisa is supposed to take a percentage. He works in someone else's field. He's not a day laborer. He's not a kablan. He's not this. He's not the other. What is he? He takes percentage of the fruit. In other words, at the end of a season, at the end of the year, let's say they grow, as we're going to see very soon, onions, very nice, fresh onions. So he takes 30-40% of the onions, and the 60%, let's say, goes to the owner of the field. Right? He takes his percentage for his, hard-earned work. Very nice. That's an aris. Now comes an aris. You know what happened to one aris? Second story for the day. Hau arisa de kalish bemuza de shamchi. That aris was mekadesh a woman with a whole bundle, meloy yad, a fistful, a bundle of betzolim, of onions. Harat mekudeshesly with those onions. Is that original? It's original. Mekadesh with. When was the last time with the chasana in Kinor David and you saw somebody mekadesh with onions? Here it is. Yeah, it was mekadesh a woman with something practical with onions. She shouldn't cry. So now the problem was that this is percentage taken from the Bailim, but should be okay. He deserves his percentage. Yes. So what's the problem? But it's not so simple. Not so simple at all. What? Yeah, he deserves it. No. Zok the Gemara. Also, Rove. He came again to Rove. Another Rove was a dayan, by the way. Rove wasn't only the Rosh Yeshiva of Mechuza. Fancy. It was Rosh Yeshiva of Mechuza and also a dayan in Mechuza. Yeah, Mechuza was a very rich place. They had a yeshiva there, also based in, and he was a top person. Also, Rove. Omar le man achlach. Who gave you permission to do that? What does that mean? Because Balabais also has his share in it. The Balabais also has his share in that bundle. What does it mean? Very good. I am not explaining on purpose because soon you'll see the next case and then you'll be able to compare. What?
Hasn't taken his whole percentage. It only belongs to the owner.
That's what they say in our school.
No.
That's what you're saying. Okay, fine. Let's continue. I'm not saying you're wrong, but let's continue. Allow the Gemara to continue. Could be. Let's just see. The Hanimili, this is only true. In other words, we have some kind of strange problem here. He took a bundle of what? Onions. I'm just giving you a hint. I'm hinting to you. Are onions like people in the American Constitution? Were all onions born the same, created the same, or no? Maybe some onions are better than others. Maybe some onions are, nicer color than others. Yeah, maybe. Beginning to think already, beginning to understand what's going on here. Oh. In other words, he took some onions out of the whole group. He selected the onions that he likes. He gave them to his, nice kala. And then says Rava, who was moichel you the part of Valabais? I'm not explaining on purpose, and then we'll see till the end, and then we'll explain again. When Rava has an issue with the Aris taking his share unfairly, bemuza. Muza means when you have a bundle of onions, some big, some small, some better and some worse. And maybe you took just a handful of the nicest ones. So you're not really being fair, right? You took only the nicest, brightest, best, hardest, onions that there are, and you left the rest for Balabais, not in an even way. Who says Balabais is Mochel his part in the nice onions, right? You have to have your 60% in the nice onions and 60% in the not so nice onions. In the hard one, the soft ones, this one and the other ones. Oh, and you didn't. He selected those that he wanted and left Balbais, the ones were not necessarily the best ones. Who was Moichel you that part? Yeah, you overdid it. Aval, as opposed to, one second, Aval Kisha. Kisha is when you have a bundles of betzolim or whatever that is, aguda, which is all exactly the same. Kisha means like when the like scallions or other ones that are tied in a whatever, like in a whatever rubber band today, and they all look the same. They're all like a cookie cutter. All bundles look the same. Then there's no problem. If you took one bundle of identical scallions and gave it to her, the Balbas didn't take his part yet. Why are you taking and giving her? There wasn't yet the whole Chalukah wasn't done yet. In that respect, you're right, Ellen. Matzi Omerle, then the Oris can tell Balabais, don't shout at me. Ano shakli kisha. I took one kisha, but it's not a done deal. Okay. Shakil at kisha. You also take your kisha later. I left you enough to take for myself. So though I jumped the gun and I started the chalukah before you came and I gave it already to the lady, the Maisa, number-wise, percentage-wise, I'm absolutely fine, right? I took one identical kisha. They all look the same, smell the same, feel the same, and talk the same. As the Gemara says, kisha ki kisha. All kishas are the same. They're all the same cookie cutters. Yeah, they all look like the living room of certain people. All exactly the same. Yeah, kisha ki kisha. Again, so let's summarize. So what was the story? The story is as follows. When he took a bunch of onions, which are not all the same, maybe you took 4 huge ones and you left 8 little ones to Balabais. Maybe price was the same. Maybe he wants some big ones, not only small ones. You just took. How can you do that? Right? You left him with onions, which he may not want. Maybe he wants some dafka of the type and the style and the level of the ones you took. Right? And money is not everything, by the way. Right? Maybe they're both worth 50 shekels, but dafka he wants the big ones, not the small ones, or vice versa. Yeah, you're not careful to mamish, take the share in a very exact way, in a way that represents fairly all the onions. That's not right. And therefore the Kiddushin is Nishka Kiddushin. They all belong to Balabais. You have a point, Ellen. The Soda belongs to Balabais. Balabais gives the Oris his share, right? So that's okay as long as we play fair. Otherwise, it doesn't belong to the Oris. You're right, Ellen. The Soda belongs to Balabais. You are allowed to take your salary within a work at the end of the month. In Israel, you get paid monthly. You can't go to Balabais Chveis Koffer as a bank account and take without permission. You get your salary from Balabais the way that's agreed. You can just start taking, especially not in a way that at the end of the day will be unfair to Balabais. The Shenkin, if you jump the gun, but at the end of the day, all bundles are the same, there are 40 all tied nicely over here and 60 over there. I took one, which I see from my 40. You take the other one from yours. It's all good and nice. And then retroactively, it's Kiddushin, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. We're about to start the third story, but first we give permission. I want to get to the Mishnah today. The Vakasha. Yes, my friend. I use Salsia. Now, Salsia is another kind of guy. That's a third story, and again, Rov is involved. A Salsia is the person who does your beer for you. Beer is B-E-E-R. In other words, is your beer maker. You give him the whatever, the tmorim. Yeah, tmorim is whatever. Not hops. No, tmorim, not hops. Tmorim are dates. Beer is from barley, whatever. So it's not beer, whatever. He makes the alcoholic drink made out of dates, whatever that is called. Yeah, it's called temed in Hebrew. Yeah, the kids are the guy makes alcohol out of your dates. You bring him your dates, And then what happens? Psh, unbelievable. He makes amazing, beautiful alcoholic drink just in time for the festival of Purim. Yeah, there's a Jewish festival, Purim. So then it's very pure, and he makes nice alcohol out of those dates. Very nice. His name is a kind of profession. It's called Sarsia. Yeah, they're all over. Sarsia.co.il. Give him the dates. He'll make a tremendous drink from what? Non-profit. Yes, Mark. So that Sarsia, you know what he does? Also, lemachtzit sachar, and then he gets half the wine, and he gets a percentage. Also, he gets a percentage of the drink. Yeah, he works for percentage. Machtzit sachar, he gets, or maybe you sell it and he gets half the money. Bekitzer makes money. It actually doesn't make a difference so much here. The Kaddish. So a girl came to his not winery, to his datery, whatever, to his wherever he makes the thing from the dates, and it was Makadesher, the Pruma de Shichra. The Makadesher with a Pruma, Pruzma, he took like a jug full of the Sheikhar that still belongs to Balabais, and he has potential Sachar from the Sheikhar, right? And he took a cup full, whatever, like a small jug. Areat mekudeshes libesheichar zeh kedas Moshe v'Yisrael. There were two edim, everything, photographers, singer, all midoraisa. He gave her that wasn't yet finished, and he has percentage in it. Also married the shichra. Now the owner of the shichra came afterwards. Ashkeche, he found him and he realized what happened. This was done without the consent or knowledge of the balabais. Omerle, so balabais told him, Amai lotativ mehai charifa. Why don't you give her from the better one? In other words, there are a few barrels over there in different stages of being diluted, and you gave her the diluted one. Why don't you give her from the better one that's more charif, the one that is less diluted, that it's still more, sharper? Why don't you give her from the better one? And that, just like the story we had with Meister, we're not sure what he means. Is it being sarcastic or is he showing his consent? Was it like, wow, why did you give her the better one? Or it's like, why couldn't you give her a better one? Well, how do we interpret his words? Yeah, which means lemafrea, did he agree or didn't agree? Because they're all shutofim. They didn't. Ellen was right. They didn't yet divide the goods. Yeah, you're jumping the gun, right? And you're taking from this. Maybe I don't agree. Ask me before, right? Maybe I want from this, not from the other. You're just taking something from the item that still belongs to me. It's not yet your time to take your salary, and you're already giving her stuff from something which is at the moment still mine. Again, this is related to the previous sugya because it's a form of gezela when you're not yet deserving of your salary. So who did he go to? Also Kamei de Rove. All questions come to Rove. Omar, so says Rove the following. Loi Omru, he's quoting a case which is a famous case brought down. All the Kita Dalet children learn this. This is a case in Elu Metzias. What's the case? I will say it soon with the Gemara. Which means we only say when a person says go to the nicer ones, we interpret that as agreement only regarding truma. If you don't understand what that means, you're in great company because the Gemara will explain everything. The Tanya. The Gemara basically is going to compare and then differentiate between a very similar case to the case we had now with the guy with mekadesh with the beer or the date beer, and another case of truma, which we see in Elo Metzias, and we also mentioned at the beginning of the parak. Listen to the following story, the Tanya. How could there be a case in which a person was toirem, a person took truma, Eretz Yisrael, Shmita, truma, maisres, you come to a whole new world of many different mitzvahs which don't exist in Chutz La'aretz, right? So now a person, how can I be toirem, give truma, part and separate truma from someone else's field, someone else's bunch of fruit without his knowledge, and it still works. We saw all the time, but what? You don't do that. You have to be a shliach. You have the consent of balabais. So how can you play the trick? Listen to the trick. A person now went down to his friend's field, the liket, and he collected and he picked the fruit. He collected them. I assume he was in Mamarech them. What kind of fruit was it? Quick. Which fruit? The oraisa. Let's make it the oraisa. Grapes. Yeah, olives, grapes, for sure the rice kula alma. Yeah, he picked all the olives and then he arranged them very nicely. And then the Torah shaloi birshus. He took some truma, 150, 161, whatever. He took some without the permission of Balabais. Where's the Balabais? The voting station. Yeah, like every other week. And is the Balabais available? No klita. No, he's in the middle of doing the mitzvah doraisa to listen to the gdolim. Yeah, he can't talk now. So what? So now the guy is taking truma without what? Asking the balabais. Okay, doesn't sound good. So let's see. Im shum gezel truma. If there's a concern that the way he took truma involves gezela, meaning there's something there that was done without the consent of balabais, it's not a good truma. If we know, how do we know we're going to sue soon? Yeah. If Balabais does not agree to that, so it's Gzela, who allowed you to take something from my stuff, yeah? Then the truma is not a truma. Retroactively, nothing happened. You're working against his will. It's not called Zochin Odom Shlo Befonov if he doesn't want. The Imlav Truma Truma. If there's no issue of Gzela, then the truma is a good truma. And the $1 million question is, how do you know? The guy's not answering the phone. The guy's not answering his WhatsApps. I don't know if he wants it or not. And maybe he didn't ask him Bichlal. I prefer quick or. Oh, very nice. Nice. The Rishonim say, general, that in generally speaking, if a mitzvah is done for Balabais is interested in the mitzvah, it's called Zochen Odom Shelo Befonov. However, let me ask you a question. Let's say I want to do a very nice mitzvah for you, and with your money, I'll take your money. You know, I live nearby. Yeah, we're very good neighbors. One building is in your building. Yeah, and what? And I'll go and I'll take some money. I'll take 2,000 shekels and buy you an esrog. You want it? What do you mean? You don't want 2,000 shekels esrog? I thought you're from. But yeah, you don't do that. In other words, it's all very nice to do mitzvahs for other people in the zochin. What involves an expense, as we're going to see now, that's already a different question. That's exactly what the Gemara is telling you. It's very nice what you asked, Peretz. I actually appreciate the question. Generally speaking, it's called as zchus when you do a mitzvah for a friend. But it involves more money than I'm willing to pay. I'm the owner. Then we say that it's not a mitzvah, it's a gzela, and it's not a mitzvah, as we're going to see right now. We're very, very hot on the nail now. How do you know if the balabais is concerned with gzela or not? How do I know if he agrees to that kind of truma that I gave? Because as we know, yeah, let's say there are amazing 5-star olives, and there's class B, and there's one that are really bad. I don't know what kind of olive is interested in giving as truma to the kohen. So now we're getting to the final line. Finally, the balabais came from the voting station, and he found who? Mr. Goodwill Toirem, the one who wants to help his friend, the Frumi, who's trying to help his friends do the mitzvahs. And he found him taking the truma and about to give it to the kohen. The Omar Loi and the balabais told the Toirem without his knowledge, Klach etzel yofois, go get from the nicer olives, the nicer fruit. Then what? What does it mean? Does it mean, oh, go to the nicer ones? Or it means, why did you find nicer ones? Klach etzel yofes, 5 lines to the Mishnah, please. Inim to yofes mehem tomose truma. Oh, if there are nicer olives, we assume he's not being sarcastic. We assume that he means it. He says, oh, why don't you find nicer ones? There's, class, A, B, C. You're doing B or C. Go to A, go to the nicer one. We assume that he's interested because in general, Paris is right. People want mitzvahs to be done, and anyhow, you have to take truma. Why don't you take for the nicer ones? And there are nicer ones. The imlav ain't truma. If these are the top 5-star, A deluxe, I don't know, gold level, diamond level, zaysim, and these are the ones that took. The Bala says, why did you take from nicer ones? Then we assume there are no nicer ones. It's being sarcastic. Like, why are you wasting the nicest zaysim that I have on that kohen? I'm a from guy, but I don't want to give the nicest ones. I want to give the middle ones. Even though it doesn't say it outright, we assume there's sarcasm over there. Sarcasm in the Talmud. Oh, that's a good YouTube title. Yeah. So then what? And then we say, the probably is disagreement. It's the opposite of consent. It's a disagreement. Third case, let's say the bailim, as Mr. Toirem is taking a few olives, the balbais comes from wherever he was and he's adding more zeisim of the same style, of the same level, action speaks louder than words, is what's written here. Whether there are nicer olives or aren't nicer olives, but if he's adding, that shows I'm showing that I'm mishtatif in your meiser. So what did we see so far? Oh, question is, can we or can we not compare the case of truma to the case of what? To the case of the kiddushin with the beer, with the dates? That's a question. In other words, the beer guy comes, the owner of the beer comes, and to his shock and horror, maybe it's shock and horror, he sees that there's a bit missing. Why is it missing? Oh, it's mekadesh mekala with it. Oh, why don't you go to the nicer ones? Yeah, why don't you go to what does it mean the nicer ones? Do we follow the same rule? Do we say that if there is a nicer barrel, it's his nice way of saying mazel tov? I'm so happy for you. I wish you took from the nicer one. Or maybe means to say, why didn't you take from the nicer ones? That there is no nicer one. You want to be mekadesh your girl, very nice. Why with the nicest one? Do we apply the same thing? Says the Gemara, no. Why? Aval hocha over here, mishum kisufa u'da'ovad ve'ena mekudeshes. Over here, the assumption is that she's never mekudeshes, and the reason why I didn't tell him outright what to do, the reason why he's being a bit evasive and a bit, around the bush, and he says, why didn't you take from the nicer? Is because he feels embarrassed. He feels embarrassed. He feels, the word in Hebrew, lo naim. He feels uncomfortable saying that straight in his face. Why are you a thief? Why did you take something which I didn't want? What's the difference? What's the difference with Truman over here? The difference is very clear. As Peretz was saying, Truman is something that has to be taken. Yeah, sooner or later, at some point, every person has to have Truma taken from his thing. Yeah, the question is what way, what, when, how, and why, and where. That's the other shaila. Then we say, listen, if he reacts a certain way, we assume that he agrees. If he behaves in such a way, it means he agreed. Because at the end of the day, generally speaking, it's a step that has to be taken. And begadol, as much as many people don't like it when others interfere in their lives, he did do you a favor. He did do something that's supposed to happen. And then it's up to interpretation. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't. Here, on the other hand, mapitom. Who says, Bechlal, you're supposed to be mekadesh a woman with my thing? Are you going to get it later? Thank you. We didn't divide yet. This is, as of now, this is my beer thing or my date thing. And you are starting mekadesh women with my stuff, mechitesi. So even, unless the son, Shulchan Aruch, if he says, yes, great, amazing, mazel tov, I'm so happy for you, and I agree, then we say retroactively it was an agreement. But as long as it's not a clear agreement, as long as it's all kinds of insinuations and maybes, the assumption is no, that he's not interested in him doing it. And the reason why he says, why didn't you take from the nicer one, is being sarcastic, and he feels bad telling him directly in your face, and therefore he's talking like that. Adkan. So today we'll all vote for the one that Gedol Yisrael told to vote. Yes, Baruch Hashem. Also, he's a very nice man. Also, he helped me once tremendously. You should know, the area was there. I just want to say something personal. The area once used to be really horrible. If you remember, those of us many years ago, and he was the only person in the area that helped people. He helped me in person, and he went there to the area with me, and it was already a high person there. And he helped me with my daughter who needed another school, and all the other people that the Chilonim, they really liked him. So that's why, that's my choice. Yeah. Local, yes. So that's my opinion, to vote for the man. I'm not saying which one. So you're not going to say that I'm Israeli involved in politics. Ellen, I'm talking to you. Thank you. One thing I want to tell you that many times the local politicians lie to the Anglo people, and I mean it now. I'm not trying to, yes. No, they lie in the election. No, that really upsets me. You can vote for whoever you want. One thing is mamash sheker gomor, shkorim I don't like. I like everybody, including him, her, everybody's good. Shkorim I don't like. It's absolute lie to say what they say, that when Haredi people are voted, they voted for many years, 15, 20, 30 years, and with the Chilonim, it's poshut a lie. I lived in Tel Aviv. The same mayor was there, stuck to his chair for 30 years. In Yerushalayim was Teddy Kollek for 20, 30 years. Miriam Fireberg, complete irreligious woman. She's a very good mayor of Netanya. She's there since Adam Arishon. Like since she's there since 90 something. She's there forever. And again, she doesn't read because she's a woman. She's white hair. She's not from. She's there forever now, and she's good. And you have Haredi mayors like Beitar, like 3 mayors, and it's a new city. It's mamish not true. It's not true. In Elad, you have new mayors and they vote democratically. They're making it kilo. The Haredim don't have democracy, and whoever stays forever. The Chilonim, it changes with democracy every 5 years. It's really just factually not true. You should know. Next time they tell you it's going to be 15 years, it's poshut, straight lie, and they're building on the fact that Anglo people don't know the history of this country. The poshut, they're building that. Other than that, do what you want. But this fact is poshut, a lie. Go to Wikipedia, look at all the Rashi of Israel. There are many Chilonim who stuck to the throne forever, and many Haredim are not. It's poshut, a factual lie, and that doesn't make me love the other ones better. I hope you still like me, even though I talk about politics. I know Anglos really don't like it, but that was my 2 cents. Believe me, I'm good. Some Shiurim are, they thrive on it every day. I'm only once. Kol hakavod. In order to be here for the Shiur and for the voting, 1 o'clock, for the one and only. Hatzlacha, bracha to everybody. Thank you. Yes.